If your hats are dirty like this, let me show you the best way to clean that up. The first step is to pre-treat the hat with some white vinegar. Now, the reason this works so well is vinegar does an awesome job to dissolve the salt rings and buildup that usually you get from sweating in your favorite hat. Now, to apply this, what I like to do is just spray down the hat, paying special attention to those areas that have really bad buildup of the salt. I like to point out, you'll notice on this hat here that there's a little bit of fading or kind of bleaching starting to happen in this area. Unfortunately, what happens is sweat is very acidic, and that acid will start to break down the dyes in the hat, causing fading or bleaching to happen. Now, we'll get this nice and clean. All the sweat and things will be gone. It will look great, but you still might have some permanent fading or discoloring on the hat itself. Now, the best way to prevent this is just to clean your hat more often. So now that we pre-treated the entire hat with our vinegar here, we're gonna come through and gently scrub. Now, something to always keep in mind is you don't wanna scrub real hard because that can kind of loosen up some of the threads and the fibers. And we wanna try to keep those as intact and looking good as possible. Now, I like to use just either a toothbrush, it's a nice soft bristle brush, or this is just a handy dandy vegetable brush I got from the dollar store. I have never cleaned a vegetable in my life with one of these, but I've cleaned so many other things and I always have one of these in my cleaning kit. Also, another quick side note, when you're scrubbing, just kind of pay attention to those areas that were really bad. Obviously, when you spray down the cleaner, that kind of disappears a little bit. You can still see a little bit of the white kind of poking through over here, so give those a good scrub. The other thing to always keep in mind is obviously the sweatband here. That's going to get very dirty, so it's always a good idea to kind of hold this, give it a really deep scrub here to kind of just start to loosen up that salt. We're gonna take care of that though in the next step as well. We're gonna get that nice and clean. The vinegar is just kind of more attacking those salt rings so we can fully remove them from the fabric. So now that we got the hats nice and pre-treated with the vinegar, I gotta say, I let these sit for about like 5 minutes and this one is already looking way better. This was a salty hat, I'm not gonna lie. Now, the next step is to just wash the hats. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can throw it in the washing machine. You can even put it in the dishwasher. It's a very popular hack. In my experience, I prefer to wash my hats by hand. Now, anytime you put them in the washing machine or even the dishwasher, you run the risk of them losing their fit or structure or permanently damaging the hat. And unfortunately, then they're just never the same. So to hand wash, I first grab a tub here. I got about 2 gallons of warm water. And for cleaner, you can either use Dawn dish soap or my preferred method is to use some Tide Free and Gentle. So like all laundry detergent, you don't have to use a lot. I just like to use about a tablespoon here. Just gonna add this to the water, just kind of mix this up. Then just take your hats and soak them in the mix here. I'm probably gonna let this sit for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. Kind of let it do its thing. Definitely going to be some dirty water here, so I'm very excited to see what that looks like. Now, a quick pro tip, when you're soaking clothes and things that kind of like to float up to the surface, I just grab a glass container here and just fill that with the water. Keep that submerged, that way they stay underneath the water and the cleaner can do its thing. So now they've been soaking here for about 20 minutes. You can just tell by the water, the dirt and grime is definitely coming out. This water is pretty gross. But what I'm gonna do here is just grab my toothbrush and then I just got a little bit more of the laundry soap here. I'm just gonna dip that in and I'm just gonna detail brush a few of the areas like the sweatband here. Just gonna give this a quick scrub in here. Try to get rid of any remaining dirt that might be on the surface. So now that the hats are nice and scrubbed up, we're just gonna go over to the sink, give them a good rinse, get rid of any soap or anything that might be left inside. Now, another reason I like hand washing my hats so much is just look at this water. This is so satisfying. We pulled this dirt out of those hats. Kind of gross, not gonna lie. So now that the hats are nice and rinsed off, it's time to get them dry. Now, this is probably one of the most important steps because you want to dry them in a way where you're not going to lose the structure of the hat. So what I like to do is grab a cup like this here and then a bowl. The more round the bowl, the better. Just that way it can contour the fit of the hat. We're going to put these like so. And then I like to grab a microfiber towel or just any towel that can kind of suck the moisture out of the wet hat. Place this over the bowl here. We're going to grab the hat. Very carefully, not trying to stretch it out too much, but just fit it over the bowl and the microfiber towel. It's gonna help it stay and keep its structure as it dries. And then once we get them nice and on the bowl here, let me get this one down, perfect. We're just gonna grab another microfiber towel, place this over the top here just so that it can pull out more moisture, just getting it dry that much faster. Now for hats like this that have no structure, what I like to do is just grab 2 microfiber towels. I kind of just ball them up here, push them on the inside, just kind of get them like that. Place them down there, just because you don't really need a bowl for these to kind of keep the structure because they're already very floppy. That's just the way they're constructed. And then just place another microfiber towel over the top there. And we're gonna let these dry. Probably it's gonna take about an hour or 2, and then we'll come back and see how they look. So now for the moment of truth. The hats have been drying for about 2 hours. Let's take a look here, start with the middle. Okay, this one is looking much better. This one had the salt on the bottom rim there, looks way better. Now, there's a little bit of lint and things on these hats. Stick around, I'm gonna show you exactly what I like to do once they're nice and dry here. Then let's come over here to this one. Now, this was the really bad brewer's hat. Let's see. Okay, that looks so much better. Now, you're gonna notice through here and kind of along this edge here, like I mentioned at the start of the video, there's definitely some fading and just bleaching on this hat itself, but overall, I think it looks so much better. And then for the Carhartt one here, this one, yeah, okay, so it cleaned up pretty well, but again, there's a lot of this fading here. Like I mentioned, the salt is just going to eat away at the fabric, the dye there, and it's going to discolor and bleach. Now for the final step, what I'd like to do is just grab a lint roller and just roll the hat here. This will get rid of any remaining lint that might have been left over, maybe from the towels or the cleaning process, and leave them completely lint-free. So there you have it, these hats cleaned up great. I want to give a huge shout out to the Clean Squad members over on the Patreon. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. And as always, I'll see you on the next clean.